Well, what is up, guys? It is Carly here, bringing you day number 4 of my 31 Days of Horror 2019, and today I'm going to be talking about a movie, an Italian movie actually, from Mr. Dario Argento, and that is The Card Player. Yes, this is obviously one of his later works. This came out in 2004, and I picked this one up at a Cash and Culture, which I've talked about that before. It's just pretty much a used DVD/Blu-ray store in my area, and someone must have got rid of a bunch of Italian films because I picked up this one as well as a few other ones. Forget exactly what all I got. I got like Manhattan Baby and a few other ones from either Fulci or Argento, but anyway, The Card Player here, this movie basically is about a killer who is kidnapping young women, and he takes them to this, secluded room or whatever, and he sets up this webcam, and he gets the police involved by sort of going on this chat site and playing a game of poker. And on the webcam, it makes it so you can see these women. They're all tied up, and he is basically planning to kill them unless one of the people, the investigators, can play a game of poker and win. And if they do that, this guy does let the women go, and if they cannot, he murders them on the webcam on screen so that all the people standing around can see it. So basically it's just an investigation of trying to figure out who is doing this and put it to a stop. This is considered a giallo. Like I said, this is one of Argento's later works. I know a lot of people kind of hate on his newer stuff, and if you know me and you've heard me talk before, I'm not a huge fan of Italian, mainly the giallo films, and I gotta say, this one I actually didn't really have much of a problem with. I don't know if it's because it really doesn't feel much like a giallo, probably because it's, like I said, a newer film. It just feels like your typical thriller, and it's not a very believable movie, and I feel like some of the acting's a little over the top in it, but I think it's actually pretty well paced. It's definitely a faster paced flick, and that's one of the issues that I usually have with older giallo films is I don't really like the pacing. I feel like it kind of feels like it goes on for a little too long, and then you get all the characters confused, and it's really hard for me to just stay invested in it. With this movie, you don't have a ton of characters that you're following, and I do like them. You're pretty much following this main girl, and there's like this young kid that they get to start playing poker because he's really good at poker, and they kind of hire him onto the team to play the guy a few times, and I enjoy those parts. So like I said, it's a pretty basic, easy movie to follow, and it is pretty well paced. The overall believability of it isn't really there. It's kind of a ridiculous concept, but I also think it's kind of a clever idea. It's kind of terrifying that you're seeing these people get murdered on camera. With the overacting, I feel like some of the women who are sitting there waiting to be killed are kind of they're like screaming nonstop the whole time, and it gets a little annoying. And it would make more sense if he was kind of torturing them while they were sitting there, but really they're just sitting there screaming when they should be trying to kind of get away. And to me, it just doesn't really, it almost makes you want them to die. It doesn't really make you feel much sympathy for them, but it's just kind of a minor nitpick there. The climax of the movie is once again a little bit on the silly side, but it's actually pretty entertaining to watch, and I feel like it is a little bit suspenseful, and it's just kind of, like I said, entertaining and comical watching your two characters that it leads up to at the end. They're kind of like fighting back and forth, and they're playing this game of poker, and it just becomes insanity. And like I said, it's a mix of entertainment, but also I feel like there is some suspense there. The gore and kills in this movie, really, it's a little bit lacking. There's not a lot of blood or gore or anything like that. The few kills that you do get is mainly just cutaway or just like close-up shots, and you're not really seeing a whole lot, where I feel like in a lot of earlier Italian films, they're all about the gore and the staying on shots for a very long time and just getting over the top with the blood. It's very different with this one. That's why it kind of feels a little more like a thriller than anything else to me. But you know, I'm fine with that. Overall, I actually did enjoy this movie, probably because, you know, like I said, I'm sure a lot of people hate on this one because it's a later Giallo and it's not that good and doesn't feel like the older classic ones. But for me personally, since I'm not a big fan of those films, it doesn't really affect me all that much. So with this one, I give it a 7 out of 10. I would say probably, you know, check it out if you're trying to see all of Argento's films, or if you are a fan of him. I feel like probably compared to some of the other movies he came out with in the 2000s and whatnot, are probably a lot worse than what this is. From what I've heard, I really haven't seen any of his later works, but I feel like this is probably one of the better ones. So 7 out of 10 for The Card Player. Thank you guys once again for joining me for day number 4 of my 31 Days of Horror, and as always, I will see you tomorrow for day number 5.